We're talking about Newcastle's Bigg Market now. What are your memories of the Bigg Market? Are they memories that you could actually share? Did you ever visit the Bigg Market Zoo? Did you even know about the Winter Zoo at the Bigg Market? I didn't until this morning. Maybe you danced the night away at Bambora's, or maybe you met the love of your life there and you got married at the Old Town Hall. Well, whatever the memory or the tale, Newcastle's Anyone want your stories, your quirky memories, and also pictures for a new film project. Stephen Patterson is from Anyone Limited. He joined me earlier at BBC Newcastle to tell us a bit more.
We're delighted to be working on the transformation of the Bigg Market at the moment. We've secured funding from the Heritage Lottery Fund, and of course that's about the built environment, preserving the fantastic listed buildings that there are in the Bigg Market. But it's also about people's history and people of the area, not just the buildings in the public realm.
Do you know, even outside of Newcastle in the northeast, people seem to know the Bigg Market, don't they?
It's famous, or rather perhaps infamous.
Yeah.
I think everybody in the northeast certainly knows of the Bigg Market and probably have had a good night out there at some point or other. But it's got a fantastic history going back to when the town hall used to be there, and when the council moved out of the town hall, there was a zoo in the town hall. So it really has some fantastic history and some fantastic characters that worked in the area and lived in the area.
Yeah.
And what we're really interested in, this is really a call out. We're working with Tyneside Cinemas, Northern Stars, and we're putting together a film. And what we want to do is capture people's stories, people's history, and people's tales of the Bigg Market, and really just to capture that personal touch for its history.
Because I think that's the interesting thing, is there will be different memories depending on the generation, because, you know, I didn't know about the Bigg Market Zoo, for example. The Bigg Market, I guess for my generation, has always been that kind of tacky night out, you know, where you went kind of to have a bit of a dance and to have a bit of a laugh. But yeah, so there's all sorts of things, I guess, that you're going to get coming in depending on the person who's telling the tale. So when you're looking for memories, are you looking for film memories? Are you looking for photos, for written memories, for just verbal memories?
All of that, to be perfectly honest. And that's the great thing with film. We can capture all of that, whether it is photographs or people might want to be interviewed and tell their tales, or indeed it might be they might have some cine film from the 1960s. You never know. People might have got married at the town hall, for example, or, you know, met the wife or the partner at a pub in the Bigg Market. Those are really the type of personal stories we love to capture.
What have you had in so far then?
As you can probably imagine, we've had quite a varied amount of tales from the Bigg Market, a lot of which I perhaps can't say on air. And I think that for us is what is really coming across, is the affection for the Bigg Market. And I would love to bring that through and put that on film.
What about you? Do you have any fond memories of the Bigg Market yourself?
I do. I think probably like a lot of people, you know, I'm 40 years old. So when I first started going out, the Bigg Market was very much in its heyday, and it was the place to go, the place to be. And I certainly remember as a sort of young 18-year-old going to the Bigg Market for the first time and just thinking, wow, this place is amazing.
It was like a rite of passage, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. I think it was a mecca, you know, to go. I grew up on the coast next to Alnwick, and coming down to town, you know, for your first night out and going to the Bigg Market, how many people there was there. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Absolute an assault on the senses, but certainly never forget it.
That's a really good way of putting it. I guess what you're hoping to achieve, stories that sometimes get lost in history, because they're, you know, you've mentioned a few things that, like I said, I hadn't heard of before, the zoo and getting married at the town hall, but there's probably loads more stuff went on that none of us are aware of. Absolutely.
And I think that I think what we really need to capture are those hidden stories.
Yeah.
Because I think it's easy to, you know, to look up sort of when was the town hall built, when was it demolished, those fixed points in history. But the things that are harder to capture are actually everyday stories of people's lives and sort of where they worked. Did they work in the journal? You know, the old journal offices just off the Bigg Market there. Did they work in George Rye, the shoe shop that's been there forever and a day? So it's really those personal stories, those personal accounts really that we'd like to capture.
And because it's changed so much over the years, what role would you say it's actually played in Newcastle's history?
It's been hugely influential in the development of Newcastle, certainly going back back to when it was the town hall. There's no coincidence that it is immediately across the road from the cathedral, so close to Central Station as well. And it's only perhaps over the last sort of 50 or 60 years that the gravity of the city centre has moved up more towards Gray's Monument and the Civic Centre. But it used to be very much the commercial heart of the city. And I think in the future, there's a tremendous opportunity and there's a huge amount of development coming forward for that area. So I think we are very much on the cusp of a new period in time for the Bigg market. And I think we'll perhaps look back on 30, 50 years and say, yeah, actually, this was the time that Bigg market changed from what it was then into what we know it as now.
Okay, so how do people get involved if they've got a memory they want to share?
Get in touch with us at newcastlene1ltd.com. All our contact details are on the website there, and really would just love to hear from people.
Brilliant. So if you have a memory of the Bigg markets, please do share it. It would be so interesting. Thank you very much, Stephen.